watched you from the window, behind the curtains. Slowly as the time to wrap around you tightly. Its love is willing to fall in love with shadows where the snow is all but melting, and you never put together. It's never put together. Behind the curtains winter, slowly as it falls. Part of you I have, the part of you I hide, the part of you I hold, the part you left behind. Call me, I'll be there always. Call on me, I'll be there always. Call on me, I'll be there always.
The song was called Inch of Dust.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming in. It's great.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the very beginnings of Future Islands. How did you guys get started, and where did you really draw your influences from?
We started out in Greenville, North Carolina, as a band called Art Lord and Self Portraits back in the very beginning of 2003. Me and Garrett have been best friends since high school, and we went off to college together at ECU, and I met William, and we became really fast friends and decided to start a project together. And then Garrett came in, and when that project lasted till the end of 2005, and then we started Future Islands a little bit later. We lost a member, we gained a new member, but I mean, I guess our influences are varied between the three of us. Mm-hmm. But I know Art Lord started off with Kraftwerk as a main influence, but I mean, it's all kind of centered. I mean, you know, Garrett's definitely draws some influence from hip-hop, mainstream hip-hop, but also, you know, he was listening to metal when we met, metal and punk, and I listened to hip-hop, and William was kind of the 80s dude who turned me and Garrett onto Joy Division and Kraftwerk and all those things. So, but it's all over the board, you know.
So how did you guys evolve from Art Lord into Future Islands? I mean...
Well, it's just kind of an accident. Basically, we booked a tour as Art Lord a month before Art Lord would break up. We lost our fourth member. Flash forward 4 or 5 months later, and our friends called us and said, "Hey, you guys, did you book that tour that we're supposed to do with Art Lord or whatever?" Mm-hmm. And we hadn't told them that we had broken up, and we forgot all about this. So the three of us decided to get in touch with our friend Eric Murillo, who was our original drummer in Future Islands, mm-hmm. And we took about 2.5 weeks, and we wrote about 7 songs, and we went on tour. Mm-hmm. And that's how Future Islands started. So it was all kind of like a serendipitous, we have to do this, we don't want to let people down. But we were also all kind of starving to make music. But it's definitely evolved since those early beginnings. I think it was much more like a synth punky at first. And we've been figuring out what we're doing.
Well, as you mentioned, you used to have a drummer, and obviously now y'all don't. what's the difference between that Future Islands and the current incarnation?
I'm trying to give out some of these questions. Well, I would say I think it was a big learning process in switching over. Art Lord didn't have a drummer either. It was 3 keyboards and a bass guitar. So it was electronic drums, 2 keyboardists, and William on bass, and me vocals. In that change, stripping down to one keyboard, bass, and drums and vocal, there was definitely a lot of power we found that we didn't have before. But I think a large part of that is having drums behind you. For me as a performer, it really propelled me into a different region of performance, like from going from the theatrical side of things with Art Lord to being like a really intense frontman and really feeling that beat behind me. So it was kind of, and that was important in going back to not having a drummer, because when the drummer left and we were without it, I think we all kind of felt that loss of power behind us, and it was very strange to not have that. But at the same time, over time, at least with me personally, I've been able to channel that energy, knowing what it's like to have that energy behind you, into something that may not have that energy, and also being able to hold back on other things where I think I was a little bit too frenetic when we had a drummer. Had a little bit too much energy. Maybe it seemed a little forced. And but I mean, we've all, I think as a 3-piece, we've really honed what we're doing. We're all in the same mind state. We've been living in Baltimore in the same city together for the first time. Like when Garrett moved up to Baltimore, it was the first time we'd all lived in the same city in about 3 years. So I think it's that closeness and us all kind of going after the same goal, which has been really important to our music just coming along. I mean, I hope that it's natural. You know, you work hard at something and you get better. That's what we're taught, you know. So I think we've definitely come a long way, and I can't really explain it. It just kind of, you know, we've been working hard.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned that you guys have since relocated to Baltimore, and recently Baltimore has really made an impact on the indie music scene. I mean, you got Wyoke, you have Beach House, Dan Deacon, but at the time when you guys moved, that scene wasn't really nationally renowned as it is now. Why did you guys relocate up there? What was it about Baltimore that attracted you guys?
Well, Baltimore definitely did have some things happening. The Wham City scene was getting a lot of recognition. A lot of the other bands that you stated weren't quite there yet. I remember playing with Beach House at the first, or it was the second Wartscape. It was the very first Wartscape that we did, which is a big DIY festival that we were part of helping put together now in Baltimore through the Wham City Collective. And you know, we played in the same alley on Wartscape, and now Beach House they're an amazing band. They deserve it. I'm happy that there's good music that's getting out to the mainstream. But yeah, Baltimore's come around a lot since we've been there. But I do feel like we were moving there knowing that there was something happening, and that we had really good friends that were behind that. Dan Deacon has been a friend of ours for many years. He played with us on his very first tour back. I think it was either late 2003 or early 2004. First tour he ever did. He came through Greenville, and a friend asked for us to open or headline the show so that this guy could get some people out to see him. He was like, "This guy's crazy," and he was crazy that night. But we become really good friends over time. But Dan was, you know, really. He was very vocal since he first moved to Baltimore that we come up there. But you know, Wayne was in school, Garrett had a job, I was off doing nothing far away, and so it just kind of it didn't happen. And the funny thing was the move to Baltimore was more of a push. I know that I said I was going to move to Baltimore pretty certain that the band was going to break up, because I didn't think I was very certain that Garrett wasn't going to move and Eric wasn't going to move. But then William expressed interest, and we were like, well, we'll go up there and we'll figure something out. And then luckily enough, Garrett ended up coming up as well, and we were able to continue on as a 3-piece. And everything's been great since then. I think it really put us out of our element, and made us not so comfortable to not do anything, right. And kind of brought us closer together again, and just being together again. But yeah, Baltimore's a great city. It's cheap, it's big. It's kind of a hub for north to south. You know, you're so close to New York and Philly, and also easy to get back down south. But you know, there's a lot of great music. But it was mainly about, you know, just being around friends who were doing big things, and being part of something I hate to say it, but when we were in North Carolina, we didn't always get as much love as we do now. I think we were kind of typecast as kind of weirdo dance party kids, and we felt like we were making some serious music. But and the move has helped us out greatly, and we, you know, we wanted to get that love in North Carolina. Now we do.
Right.
We always had a big fan base, but the press wasn't always so nice.
Well, so Dan Deacon, you guys actually released a split with Dan, but you guys have also released a couple other splits. You have an EP, you have a full length. Now you have a new full length. You guys have had an incredible amount of output in your short history. Let's talk about that new album. It just came out today through Thrill Jockey Records. How have you guys evolved from Wave Like Home to the new album?
You want to field any questions? I know Garrett's not going to talk. Any of you guys that are out there watching. I mean, the album was recorded a little bit differently. It comes from a different place. For me personally, a lot of the songs are you know, from a past relationship, and a lot dealing with a lot of last year. And but I guess you know, it all comes from the same, or it all comes from each of us individually. You know, my words are secondary to the emotion of the music. The emotion of the music is what brings out the words, and follows through with that. And you know, and that comes from where, you know, Garrett and Williams' places in you know, we do definitely feel like that move to Baltimore is a big part of that album. You know, the title track was actually a cut that Garrett did originally for his solo project. It was like the first thing he wrote when he moved to Baltimore. It was like the first week he was there, and you know, Garrett was going through a rough time when he first moved up after a long breakup, and then shortly after that, I was going through a really bad breakup, and then we started writing these really sad songs. You know, I mean, we've all been through those things, and those feelings of homesickness and you know, wanting to be home. But you know, we've spent a lot of that time on the road, and the songs just kind of pop up. I mean, this is our first time writing as a dedicated 3-piece, other than the Feathers and Hallways 7-inch. It was our very first time writing as a dedicated 3-piece, and I don't know, we just. I think the drums definitely put us in a different zone than we wanted to be. This kind of slowed us down and made us. It's allowed me to be more poetic. The music that we're making now, instead of feeling so forced and urgent with words, and it's allowed me to splay out a bit. And I don't know. I like I said before, I feel like we worked hard, and this is the natural feelings of going along. I'm kind of worried because we're all feeling pretty good these days. I don't know if we'll ever be able to write another good record. We might have to wait a couple years.
Well, you already have one in the works, right? You have a 7-inch that you're working on with Lonnie Walker.
Yeah. I think I guess we have a song that we're going to be using for that. We haven't recorded yet. We were originally going to be doing an acoustic version of Tin Man, which is on the new album, but decided to hold back and put out something fresh with what Lonnie Walker's doing, because we really like their side.
Well, speaking of Tin Man, that's kind of the first single. It's the next song y'all are going to perform. But obviously, there's this allusion to, you know, or this nod to Wizard of Oz. What was the inspiration behind that song, and why the Wizard of Oz reference?
Well, the Wizard. I guess it's actually that's a bad call on my part. No, I mean, you know, the Tin Man. It's of course the cliche, the built-in cliche of the Tin Man. It's a man who doesn't have a heart, and that song was built around those ideas. Well, the song before the refrain was written at the end, there was a song, and then I decided I wanted to call the song Tin Man, and then the refrain happened. Usually when we write songs, we take them out on the road before they're finished, and then they figure themselves out on the road. The Wizard of Oz reference, I guess it's kind of funny because we actually reference a few Disney movies in our work. Maybe that's my bad again. Of course, the song Pinocchio, and then the title track from Wave Like Home. Wave Like Home has reference to, well, I guess it could be Pinocchio or Jonah and the Whale, but and then Wave Like Home is actually a play on the words, because I originally wanted to name that album There's No Wave Like Home. And then William says that's not good, and I was like, no wave like home. And then he's like, wave like home, and I was like, wave like home. So that's actually that's a play on the Wizard of Oz as well, and just just those feelings. I don't know. I guess a lot of musicians, artists draw from those. It's a childhood memory, so it kind of hits on those points of vulnerability and innocence, which I think are important. And that's one of the hardest things too, is to flip a cliche. So if you like that song and you don't mind the Tin Man looking for his heart, then I did my job as far as the words go. This next song is called Walking Through That Door. Hope I'm not being too creepy. I feel so alone in here. I wish some of you guys were in here. This song's about helping someone who's afraid. No hard dollar. You are good there. No one questions it. Who think how you saw? That's the best of that. Share sentiments. I want to be.
hold your hand as I walk you through the door. I'll hold your hand as I walk you through the door. Hold your hand as you held my hand as I walk you through the door. Hold your hand as you held my hand as I walk you through the door. Hold your hand as you held my hand as I walk you through the door. Hold your hand as you held my hand as I walk you through the door.
This next song's a fairly new one. It's called In the Fall. On record, it has Katrina Ford from Celebration. I'll be doing her parts tonight. This song's about coming out of this brutal winter with open arms and embracing the coming spring.
I feel safe. I feel whole. Knowing that it wasn't your fault or mine. I felt the change in the colors and leaves, the color of dreams. Time passing in sleep. For you were my best friend. You were my best friend. For you were my best friend. You were my. The spring will leave this had no flowers trapped inside, and the rain will stop, and the light just drop under the wing of a budding eye, and the king will hear the call from the silence of his crown, and free us from these casualties, his majesty love. And the spring will leave this room for now, and the spring will leave this room hands down, and the spring will leave this room for now, and the spring will leave this room for now. I feel safe. I feel whole, knowing that it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault us from this tragedy. And majesty allow, in the spring we'll leave this room for now. And in the spring we'll leave this room, palms up. And in the spring we'll leave this room for now. And in the spring we'll leave this room for now. You were my best friend. 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 You were my best friend.
All right, we got one more for y'all. This last song is called Vireo's Eye. It's good to be back in North Carolina.
In hazy tide, when you were not my living tide, and I was not your diamond side. Left his days lie, for our love was lost to time. You were strong, I was a child. We don't easy, we don't easy, we're just straight up. We don't easy, we don't easy, we're just straight up. And love is dying so, carried down my ancient top, buried round the water proud and wide. Loud line, loud world, little girl. To be, to sheep, to shreds, happy, to love, by your side, by your side, on your road. We don't need it. We don't need it. We just stay. We don't need it. We don't need it. We just stay. By my side, but you are not my